But like if you really slow down and you think about every person that you interact with every single day, they're going to one of two places.
ReThink podcast number 161. Go.
Yeah, we're starting a new series Sunday. This is Wednesday.
We're really leaning on the Holy Spirit on this one.
What's the name
I mean,
of it?
I'm not. Wait.
Whoa.
I
Okay. You heard it here first.
Out of context.
Levi came to me this morning. He said, "Can you help me with some direction on this series?" I said, "Nope." This one's Matt.
And he's not relying on the Spirit.
That last statement was totally taken out of
you
context.
You going to throw the Bible out too?
No, I was throwing Caleb under the bus.
I want you to capture that last statement.
And delete it if you want a job.
Delete everything around it and just blast that all over the internet.
Actually, can we get him like preaching some health and wealth message?
Oh, there you go.
And then that statement.
Listen,
actually,
this is the guy that
statement,
last week made a whole bunch of AI photos of us in the middle of the.
Oh,
was
yeah.
that ahead of time?
You weren't here. He did the same thing to you too.
Oh, I loved it. I used it in Clay County.
It was great. But
me in a hot tub with a laptop doing work.
What can he do with a statement?
That's what I did.
Where you actually literally say.
What did you say?
What can he do with the statement where you literally say you don't rely upon the Spirit?
He's going to take that.
You don't rely upon the Spirit. You don't.
That's the clip we need right there.
He's going to put that all over.
That one. For sure he is. I wasn't in the
You're
second
fired.
service.
Try that.
All right, that's it. He is the boss.
Use that statement.
Hey,
I'm actually afraid to say anything now.
He is available. He is actually available to give direction Sunday now.
You should be.
Hey, let's talk about these mic stands for a second because
My goodness.
I've adjusted this thing like 4 times and it keeps falling down. So let's just see over the course.
I hit it. Okay. We're being dramatic. We're being dramatic.
I'm just saying, this new studio.
It's pretty sweet.
So we're walking into Easter.
Okay.
What's the name of this series?
Dusk to Dawn is the name of this series.
Dusk
Oh,
to Dawn.
like
Thanks, Caleb. Thanks,
hunting.
Caleb. Dusk to Dawn. No,
Well, shooting light.
What is going on this week?
St. Patrick's Day?
The eclipse. The eclipse.
It's not happening this week.
That's in April.
No, it's next week.
April.
That's like in a month.
I'm ready. Let's go.
I was trying to think what you were going for.
You're fired.
I was like, where is he talking? This is getting out of hand. He brought those for a joke 3 weeks earlier.
It's for the series.
It's for the eclipse.
This is what happens when Jeff and Andrew get a week off, apparently.
I did not have any part of this.
I did not see that coming.
That's the beauty.
What's going on this week? Not the eclipse.
Oh, man.
Take 2. He's done.
It's all 3 of you. You guys are crying.
Yeah.
Matt was just talking about how he couldn't handle females crying, and here all 3 of you are laughing so hard you're crying
Well, the
tears.
best part is that the eclipse is even after all the series is over.
He's broken up, folks, about hurting people's feelings.
That's the Slaying Dragons series.
I look over, he's got sunglasses on.
Oh, and yep, the eclipse is not happening this week.
It's April 8th.
And my microphone is still falling. Oh, my goodness. All right. Oh,
Yeah.
yay.
Caleb, save us.
Yeah, so we're We're walking into Easter.
That was
So
Yeah,
we are 3 weeks out for Easter. We're starting a series called Dusk to Dawn.
no eclipse included.
No eclipse included. It could be
Dawn to dusk.
in relation to hunting, because we all desire to be seeked. We all desire to be sought after, and God continues to do that through all of our lives, all the time.
How about in relation to Easter? Very early, the first day of the week. At dawn.
Yep.
Eclipse. That's stupid. Dusk to dawn. It's dark.
Specifically,
Saturday, but Sunday's coming.
Yep.
Right.
Tony Campolo.
Specifically, we're going to use this series as an opportunity to talk about Jesus being the light. So tonight, we're recording this on Wednesday, so tonight is our prayer night across both campuses. And at this prayer night, we're going to have several different stations. One of the stations that we are going to have tonight is the opportunity for people to take a light bulb and write their name on it and commit to being a part of the mission, to invite someone to come to Easter. We're going to be talking about...
So the light can shine through you. It's
Right.
Shout out to Levi, by the way, on that.
For sure.
We had the idea,
Yep.
you did. Found a picture, and he took it to the extremes.
This is what I expected, and this is where he took it.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's
Like
nice.
it looks awesome.
Yeah.
At both campuses. It's going to be great.
It's gonna be.
So-
It's very impactful because it's tactile, right? The light shining through you. It's going to be a visual reminder. It's powerful. It's good.
We're going to spend this weekend really talking about... It's funny because we were talking about like relying upon the Holy Spirit and
or
him...
not.
Yeah. Him guiding and directing like what we're going to say and talk about. And for me, I have a tendency to be a planner. So I'm thinking through, and probably in way too much detail, what I want to talk about pretty early most of the time. So on Friday morning, I pretty much have my sermon done for the following Sunday. And then I walk into a coffee shop here in town, and I have this interaction with this guy. And basically, the long story short, I end up getting the opportunity to spend an hour and 15 minutes with him, sharing the gospel with him. He saw me from across the room, goes after me, and says, "Hey, can I sit down at your table?" I said, "Sure." And he goes, "Man, I've just been walking in a bunch of darkness." I'd met the guy 10
He
years ago.
literally said that.
Literally said that.
Wow.
Sitting there across the table with a friend of mine who goes to church here. And we both just sat there with him for, like I said, about an hour, 15, hour, 30 minutes, just sharing who Jesus is. And it was after that conversation that I realized how simple this message is. John 8:12, I am the light of the world. Like, if we really believe that he is the light, if we really believe it, we share it.
Yep.
Does that make sense? The essence of the gospel, the fact that we don't have to walk in darkness anymore because he is the light, like the entire gospel message is in this verse. So I don't know. It struck me. It made me on Monday morning throw away all my notes and start over, and just go, let's keep this simple and direct about who Jesus is.
So, like, I've heard that statement, walking in darkness, before. And, I don't know, I saw something. It was like one of the internet, things that come up. Anyway, it was pertaining, it must be because we're in the series or something, and my phone listens to me. But it was the measurement, like, you can't measure darkness. You can only measure the absence of light. And so I thought that was interesting. And it's same thing with cold. I don't know if that's true or not. I really don't know if these are true. This was just like one of those things.
It's on the internet. It must
It
be
got
true.
me thinking though, because like at absolute zero, everything stops working. But you add 1 degree of heat to that, and now you're not at absolute zero. Same thing with darkness. You can have absolute darkness, but it's only what you can actually measure is the absence of heat and light in those situations. So someone who has physics and science stuff, let me know if that's true, because it makes a really good illustration about how in this world, it's really not the idea of we're walking in darkness. We're walking in the absence of light. And who is the light? Jesus is the. So when we are not walking with the presence of God in our lives, it gets really dark really fast. I thought that was, I don't know, it just kind of dawned on me this week. Oh, that was a little pun. Dawned on me. That was a good one.
Well, you think
Big
about
Bend, Texas.
you think about like
Darkest
this
place in the U.S.
Big Bend, Texas.
Yeah.
Like spiritually dark or
Physically.
physically dark? Why is that? I would think Alaska, like when they have days of
I've
darkness.
actually been there, but I didn't know that.
That's what I read this week.
Really?
Someone fact
I
check.
was thinking about going there. It doesn't sound right, does it?
No, I don't think that's right. No.
Big Bend, Texas.
Now maybe it's like, no, I don't even think that could be.
I think sometimes, like, we forget, and we've heard over and over again. I probably, like a lot of people who are listening, I grew up in church my whole life, and so I heard over and over again that I exist on this earth to be a representation of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I heard it so many times that I almost just became like one. I heard it and it was one in one ear, not the other. But like if you really slow down and you think about every person that you interact with every single day, they're going to one of two places. And God's plan, I don't fully understand it, but it is to empower you through the power of the Holy Spirit for your words to interact with His word and to point people to Jesus and change their destiny. And the fact that He uses us is amazing. And I think so many times the lie the enemy tells us is we're so busy, we got a lot going on, and he numbs us to the fact that every single person we interact with is going to one of two places. That changes the why we live here. And we lose the sight of the fact that we're missionaries on this earth to point people to Him. I don't know. I was reminded of that on Friday.
Look at the verse Matt was talking about. It's John 8:12. It says, Jesus says, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. And you think about that, like even in their context, when Jesus is saying that, they have the sun. The sun brings life. The sun brings warmth. The sun allows them to do. And what happens when darkness comes? I mean, they don't have tangible flashlights, like they light fires, stuff like that. But
Right.
life goes down. Like they sleep, they rest, but life is done. It's the same way in our spiritual life. Like in the darkness, we may think we can survive, we may think we can do stuff, but really, we have no life without that. And so so then you follow me. So it's the same aspect, like you're talking about. Yes, Jesus is the light. And then what does He do for us? And you just said that, we become ambassadors of that light. We become carriers of that light. We become this Holy Spirit living in us, through us, working within us, that now we carry that light to those around us. Which to me, that's just, it's an honor, and it's almost incredible, that He entasks us with that, because I'm not capable of doing that, and as Caleb,
Right.
but Caleb with the Holy Spirit living within me. Well, that's still not me. That's the Holy Spirit living within me.
Right. The concept of of light, I think, for us is we go to the light switch and turn on a light switch, and the 20 LED lights that Caleb put in my living room come on. We don't think about it like they would have thought about it. The context surrounding this, this is one of the I am statements of Jesus. The context surrounding this is crazy. This is a massive proclamation of who He is.
Yep.
You go back to chapter 7, this is called the Feast of Tabernacles. This is one of the 7 feasts. Go back to Leviticus 23, and we see a list of all the celebrations that the Hebrew people are supposed to be a part of, and this is one of them. This is a celebration that took place for a week. It's also called the Feast of Booths. It's God's people remembering being rescued from slavery in Egypt. And you go back to, where did you leave? Exodus 13, I believe you left us last week, when Moses picks up the bones of Joseph, and they're right on the edge of the wilderness, and God sends a cloud, and He sends a pillar of fire to guide the people. You're going to say something?
No, I'm just thinking that it ties even further back.
Oh.
Genesis 1:1.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
In the beginning was God. God did what?
Light.
Let there be
Light.
light.
Absolutely.
And it's not until day 4 until we have beings that orbit in the skies that reflect or create
Right.
light of their own. And so the source of light is God
already
himself,
Yep.
Right.
which is exactly what we're told in the Revelation that will happen in the end. Right? When you come into the throne room of God, there is no need, it says, for a sun or moon or stars, because God himself is present. And so there will be light. You know, that whole concept of Shekinah, the glory of God, the radiating glory of God, which illuminates, you know, on Mount Sinai. Yeah, it's pretty powerful.
So
What's
you
interesting to me, though, you're just going to do chapter 7 and 8?
Because of time, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Originally, I started off to try to do 7, 8, and 9, and it's just too much.
Well, 8, after the statement you read, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have light of life. Since we don't have time for that in the sermon, maybe we could see where he goes from this.
Yeah.
And in the podcast here. In verse 13, the next verse, it says the Pharisees challenged him. Here you are appearing as your own witness. Your testimony is not valid. So what does he do in chapter 9? He heals, but not just anyone or anything.
Yeah.
He heals a man who has been what?
Blind.
Born
Blind.
blind, living in darkness. That's not on accident,
Yep.
right? That's all tied to you have no credibility talking to us about light. You know, you have no witness, and now
Yeah,
there you
because
go.
you go backwards a chapter in chapter 7, like I said, the Feast of Tabernacles. In that celebration, on the 8th day, the priests would have walked up these 75-foot ladders to these bowls that were full of oil. They would have taken their undergarment, they would have dipped it into the oil, lit it on fire, and lit these bowls that would have lit up the temple. And so the very next morning, verse
Like,
2 tells us
that
that.
is the temple. I've seen
whole-
discussion of that. Like, this is you talk about a city on a hill.
Yep.
Everything's glowing
Yep.
when those bowls were lit.
When I was a kid, my preacher said this was the 4th of July for the Hebrew people. Like, it lit up the sky.
Yeah.
It was, everyone knew
Pretty
what
awesome.
was going on. And so
I'm the light.
the very next morning, verse 2 tells us that it's the next morning, everyone's gone home, and then Jesus starts talking to a group of people, and he says, hey, I'm the light of the world. They've just celebrated this.
Yeah, probably still talking about it.
Still talking
that
about
was cool,
it.
wasn't it?
Yeah. And he's like, I transcend the temple. Like, I am the one who's been sent. I am the light that you're looking for. It's me. The proclamation is massive. But we just sometimes, I think, read it and just keep scrolling through and don't realize the major picture of what's happening here.
Just touching on what Jeff was saying, back chapter 9, verse 5. And so this whole time from beginning of 7 and 9, he's continually having this conversation with multiple Pharisees as they are contradicting him, as he's claiming who he is. And verse 5 is very powerful because he's saying, this is Jesus' words, while I am in the world, I am the light of the world. And he's just reiterating what he's doing. But like what you say, now he has not only claimed it, he's backing it up with what he's capable of doing.
Right.
And then you tie all that into what's going on at the Feast of Tabernacles at the same time. It is such a powerful picture of what would have been going on.
They go back and forth. This man's healed, born blind, and they call his parents in. His parents throw him under the bus, which is interesting. You know, like, well, we don't know how he got healed, but yeah, he was blind. You know, because they don't want to.
Yeah.
They can see the
This is definitely him, but we don't know how it happened.
right. The trouble's brewing, and they don't want to get a part of it. But anyway, you get that whole dialogue goes back and forth, and you get down to verse 35 of chapter 9. Jesus heard that they had thrown him out. Talking about the man.
Yep.
When they found him, he said, "Do you believe in the Son of Man? Who is he, sir?" The man asked. "Tell me that I may believe." Jesus said, "You have now seen him. In fact, he is the one that's speaking to you." The man said, "Lord, I believe." And he worshipped him. And Jesus said, "For judgment I have come into this world, so that the blind will see, and those who see will become blind." Some Pharisees who were with him heard him say this and asked, "What? Are we blind too?" So they got it. Jesus said, "If you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But now that you claim you can see, your guilt remains." What's that mean? They're responsible. They know. They know, right? The truth has been revealed to them, and they're rejecting it. So they claim to see, but in reality are blind, and for that they're accountable.
They're in darkness, yeah.
They're living in darkness by choice.
And you think about who he's talking to as the Pharisees, like they would have known the scriptures, they would have known the word, and so like all these concepts that he's talking about, it's not like it's a common folk that would not understand. Like he would be speaking plainly to them, but yet they're purposely rejecting it.
Sometimes I think they get a we automatically think that these guys were bad guys. They're just religiously blind.
They're blind.
They have it right in front of them, and I mean you can go to the end of chapter 8 when they try to stone him. He slips away. You know, it's like he is a threat to their power, and the reason I think the end of chapter 8 is important is because, and I don't have time to get this in the message, but to me that's the moment that they decide he's got to die. When he says, "Before Abraham was, I am."
Oh, that's the blasphemy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, he's making a claim of God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I am.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There are 7 I am statements in John, right? Maybe 8. Depends on how you break them down. But
Right. I've heard a couple different.
That's
But that's the one.
that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he's making a very clear, distinct. And not only does he say, "I am the light," he says, "You're in the dark." And
Yep.
so he's not just separating himself as elevated; he's putting them as down.
Yep.
So there's like a separation. And then we move to the cross from here.
Mm-hmm.
Not very long in John.
I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me.
What are you hoping people are thinking, feeling when they walk out Sunday?
To me, I think there's 2 applications. If you are not, if you're not a believer, the opportunity you have is to do exactly what it says, to never walk in darkness.
Yeah.
If you're a believer, the application is because of the light, you go and be light.
I've been talking to a guy who I believe the intention at this point is to be baptized on Saturday of Easter weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. It's fun to talk to people and see, like when the lights turned on, for them to see their way, you know. And this is a guy who's been brought up in religion, and he wants to make a proclamation of faith that's personal, that's his, right? Like this, and it's been like the lights just turned on in his life,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and he's hungry, and so this is my faith, and I want to proclaim it publicly. The light, that's a light shining bright, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he calls us to.
So for me on Friday morning, when I met this dude, I walked in and said, "Hey, like I'm available to grab coffee. I got 7 to 8 o'clock." Right? I had been praying for the last 3 or 4 days for the opportunity. Right? Specifically because of the prayer morning we had with our staff, asking God for an opportunity. Right? Prayed that before I went to bed on Thursday night. Sitting there, and this guy comes walking up and says, "Can I sit down?" And I look at my watch, 7:53. And in my mind, I was like, I got 7 minutes. But then
That sounds holy.
Right,
Yeah.
after a few minutes, this conviction came over me, like, you've been praying for an opportunity, and I literally brought him to your table.
Yeah.
Do you have time? And I texted my wife because I was supposed to be home for something. And I just pulled out my phone. I want to be rude. And I said, "Sharing the gospel, be home later." And I'm like, that's such a... I got home and she's like, "I got to hear the story," right? But it's like, do we really actually slow down and go, "God, give me an opportunity to be light"? And then when he brings the opportunity to you...
Do you recognize it?
Do you recognize it and take advantage of it? And some people are like, "Oh, it's so hard." Like, what do you say?
Are even not just take advantage. Are you willing
Yeah.
Yeah.
to make the sacrifice
Yep.
to follow through? You know, because we get the opportunity, and they're like, "I gotta
Yeah.
get home. Sorry."
And I tell you what it did for the guy that was sitting across the table from me. He texted me after and goes, That was awesome. And it's like, man, I love the opportunity to preach. Like, I get fired up about what I'm going to talk about on Sunday, but that moment got me really excited. Just, this guy is raw and he's searching, and it's like, and we introduced him to Jesus again. Like, he knew, he thought he knew a lot about him. He knew about him. He didn't know him. And that's the difference. That's never walking in darkness. Like, are you following him? Do you know him? Because if you really know him, you have to share him.
I made the comment a few weeks ago. Religion asks the question, "What do I have to do?" But a relationship asks the question, "Where are we going?" Because it's about a walk with Jesus.
Yeah.
Where are we going?
You know, and Caleb and I were talking about this a little bit ago when we were talking about this message. What are we going to say? And the question that I got back from the guy that was across the table from me that I know goes to church here was like, I had no idea like what we were going to talk about. I didn't know where we were going. It is as simple as asking questions, listening, and keep pointing back to Jesus.
Yep.
Like, you don't have to. If you wait until you think you know everything you need to say, you'll never do it.
Well, see, what you have to remember, you who don't use the Holy Spirit or rely upon the Holy Spirit.
That's Jeff, Michael, and Christian.
What we have to remember is that the Spirit was working on him, calling him
Right.
back, right? And you're just partnering in that conversation.
Yeah.
And you just try to stay out of the way.
Yeah.
Just ask the questions and let the Spirit lead.
Well, he goes. I'm sitting there thinking, because I'm trying to think 2 steps ahead, which is not always great. But he brings up Paul, and next thing you know, I'm like, oh, that's a pathway. So we go to Romans 8. We just start walking through, like, what does the Bible say, and what are you gonna do? And it got to the point where he was like, maybe I need to get baptized. Man, I don't know. And it's like, I'm like, yeah, you probably do. And so I don't know. I've been communicating with the guy back and forth all week long, and it's just,
That's awesome.
I just reminded the fact that this is the gospel in a sentence, in a verse, and sometimes that's all we need to say. This is what you need. This is what you need to go and share.
Where do we go after this? What's next? We're going to stay in John?
We're staying in John. We're going to go to John chapter 10 after this. Life to the full.
We're going to get to 11? Just 10.
Just 10.
11's natural for Easter. But we're not going there this year.
Well, you guys are doing Easter, so you can decide.
We're doing Jonah.
The only sign you're getting is the sign of Jonah. That's it.
All right.
Just leaving it there.
Hey, let's just point out, microphone started here.